Board of Education business meeting of August 13, 2024. This meeting is being live streamed by the county channel and is being conducted via hybrid video conferencing. In accordance with new safety and security guidelines, bags, backpacks, and purses are prohibited by the public at the Beaufort County Board of Education meetings. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker on Beaufort County School District and school-related topics. Citizens wishing to participate in public comments can do so in person or via phone. There are 2 scheduled public comment forum times during each board meeting. The first is a 30-minute session near the beginning of the meeting, limited to topics on the board meeting agenda. The second is a 15-minute session, which takes place prior to adjournment but no later than 9 p.m. Requests to participate in the public comments via phone will be accepted via email the day of the meeting from 5 to 5:30 p.m. for the first time frame and from 6 to 6:30 p.m. for the second opportunity. Requests should include the speaker's name, phone number, as well as topic, and must be emailed to the Executive Administrative Assistant to the Board, Robin Cushingberry, at robin.cushingberry@beaufort.k12.sc.us. Requesters will subsequently receive a phone call during their respective public forum time and should be ready to speak. Citizens desiring to participate in person must fill out a public comment card that can be obtained from the board clerk upon arrival. So we have a quorum. We have in person Earl Campbell, Victor Ney, Ingrid Boatwright, Colonel Geyer, myself, and then online we have William Smith. So that makes 6. So next we need a motion to go into executive session. Colonel Geyer.
Madam Chair, I move that we go into executive session for the following reasons. Receipt of legal advice regarding settled and pending claims covered by the attorney-client privilege pursuant to SC Code Section 30-4-70A2. Second, employment matter in regards to personal ratification report pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 30-4-70A1. Next, discussion of negotiations incident to proposed agreement with Marine Corps Air Station pursuant to SC Code Section 30-4-70A2. Next, discussion of negotiations incident to proposed purchase of property in southern Beaufort County pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 30-4-70A2. Next, receipt of legal advice regarding property in northern Beaufort County pursuant to South Carolina Code Section 30-4-70A2. And lastly, discussion of negotiations incident to propose contractual agreements of ESS contract pursuant to SC Code Section 30-4-70A2.
We have a second. Okay, Mr. Earl Campbell, second the motion. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Who will be giving us legal advice?
We have Wendy Cartledge, Dave Duff, Gene Matthews, and staff.
Right. All those in favor of the motion to go into executive session, please raise your hand in the room and say aye. Aye. Online, say your last name and your vote. Please.
Smith, aye.
And I believe you are the only one online, so the motion carries unanimously. So we'll now go into executive session down the hallway. Good evening, and welcome to the Beaufort County Board of Education Business Meeting of August 13, 2024. The board was just in executive session, and now we are back in public session. So, Colonel Geyer, do we have any action as necessary or appropriate regarding matters discussed in executive session?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 4 motions. First motion, I move that the Board of Education approve the superintendent's recommendations for employment listed on the July 1st, 2024 to July 30th, 1st, 2024 personnel ratification report.
All right, the motion was made by Colonel Geyer and second by Ingrid Boatwright. Any discussion? There being no hands up, all those in favor in the room, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
And online we have Angela.
Middleton abstains because I was not present during that portion of the meeting.
Okay, thank you. So the motion carries 7-1. Well, 7-0-1, excuse me.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education approve a 10-year intergovernmental support agreement, or IGSA, with the Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort to provide materials, equipment, supplies, and services to MCAS Beaufort in support of operations and maintenance for an annual amount not to exceed $5 million. The board will be notified of each project by means of an individual amendment tied to the IGSA.
Second.
I think Victor Ney got that one. All right, so the motion made by Colonel Geyer and second by Victor Ney. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yes. I see yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I will be supporting this today because I think this is a great beginning of a great partnership between the two, and so I definitely will be supporting this.
So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Middleton, aye.
All right, so the motion carries unanimously.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent to sign the contract agreement with Clearview Homes for the Cherry Point Road property exchange, which exchanges Parcel D for Parcel B, as shown in the conceptual plan for Cherry Point.
Okay. Colonel Geyer made the motion. Victor Ney seconded the motion. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, opposed?
No.
Okay, so the motion carries 7-1-0.
Madam Chair, I move the board authorizes the superintendent to issue an award to ESS Southeast LLC to provide substitute teachers and miscellaneous staffing services as described in RFP number 25-002. The board authorizes the superintendent to execute a contract with the contractor upon expiration of the protest period.
Okay, second was made by Earl Campbell. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Middleton, aye.
All right, the motion carries unanimously. I think those were your four motions. Okay, thank you. Next, we have approval of the agenda. We need a motion and a second for that. Okay. All right. Mr. Earl Campbell made the motion to approve the agenda, and Ingrid Boatwright seconded the motion. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Middleton? Thank you. All right, everybody approved the agenda. Next, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is to my right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Please be seated. The media has been properly notified. Next, we have our student performance tonight by the May River High School Silver Sound, performing Louie Louie and Sharks on the Move under the direction of Deborah Hamner. Welcome, May River High School Silver Sound.
Thank you all so much for having me and having the band here. It's such a pleasure to be able to work with you, and hopefully at some point in time we can actually get a little bit more of the band directors to stay in the area and a few more band members and grow our program just a little bit better. But if you guys could all give the band another round of applause if you want. We do actually have a few eighth graders with us. We are a little bit larger than we were last year, but it's such a privilege to be able to come over and play for you guys and perform for you guys. So thank you so much again.
Thank you. Keep up good work.
All right, next on our agenda, our first public comments. And as is well stated on the agenda, these comments must be addressing one of the agenda topics. And if it's not addressing one of the agenda topics, then it will be placed in the second session of public comments, which comes later, but before, no later than 9 p.m. So the public comments are delivered at the podium that is here in the front of the gallery, I guess you'd call it. And we have first speaker, David Cook. And what is your topic on academics, sir? I don't really see that as a topic tonight on the agenda. We'd be happy to entertain your topic at the second session. There is not a specific agenda topic.
Or committee reports for academic committees is on the agenda, ma'am.
Yeah, but what in relationship to the academic committee reports? You need to be specific.
I can't be specific. We're not allowed to inspect any agenda package documents prior to the meeting. So I'm just speaking about instructional materials in academics.
That is not true, and I'm going to correct that on the public. So what specifically are you addressing that has to do with the academic committee?
Accessibility to instructional materials. It's academic committee oversees
So
that.
I'm going to defer to our chair of academic committee, Chloe Gordon. Was that in the academic committee report? Okay, so please sit down and we will hear your comments this afternoon.
I'm here to speak on academics, and you can't tell me what to speak about. In
Sir?
Instructional and library materials. Over the last 2 years, your committees voted to remove books.
All right,
Yet
we're
you failed to
adjourning.
do so to date. I'm
Or
here
I
to
should say
remind
adjourn.
all
We'll
of you from the
recess.
board on down, you work for the people of this community. I have to admit, Mr. Geyer stooped lower than I thought he could in his recent comments covered by the media about book bans and what he referenced to our communities. Criminal intimidation, Code 1617-560, if you attempt to remove me from this meeting, is against the law. I want you to know that. You can't call a deputy to remove me, and I've been invited to attend this meeting by
the first session, and is there anybody online? No, ma'am. All right. Next, we have our clock update.
Good evening. My name's Mike McNally. I'm the current chairman of CLOC. Good evening, Dr. Rodriguez, Dr. Guad, Colonel Geyer. Colonel, I'd like to thank you on behalf of our committee for being the liaison and for attending so many of our meetings over the past years. And going into the future, I'm sure you've been extremely helpful. We have had some changes in personnel. We've had a few people leave our committee for other reasons, for moving. Ted Barber moved out of the area. Carlton Dallas actually left and joined your board. I had the pleasure of working with Carlton on the projects team for several years. What I'd like to do is just review for, I'm sure you all are familiar with our committee, but there's some public folks here that we're representing. And I'd like to just tell a little bit about what's going on. With Ted leaving, I was his vice chairman from the very first, when Dr. Rodriguez put this committee together and chose all of us to serve. We will have our 55th monthly meeting tomorrow. We've been busy. We sort of work behind the scenes, but we represent all of the voters who approved this referendum in 2019 and also the one coming ahead. And it's an independent group of volunteers. We monitor all of the referendum projects, the schedules, the budgets, all of the expenditures, the quarterly reports from the CLOC, or such as tonight to the Board of Education. We have the minutes of all of our meetings posted on the school district website. We just flip maybe another slide. Get up.
1 second. Apologize.
Yeah, sure. I do want to sort of personalize the CLOC. This not too many people know who are involved, maybe except yourselves, and I'd like to just give you a quick resume of those who are on the board so you can see the kind of talent that's working on such an important project. Myself, I'm a retired civil engineer. I worked for 55 years in civil engineering, land surveying, urban planning, construction, was licensed in 7 states, including South Carolina, had my professional engineer's license, and involved in all sorts of construction planning and project management. My vice chairman is Ray Warco. Ray is a retired CPA with nearly 50 years of professional experience in all sorts of accounting firms, companies, trusts, and he specializes especially in financial reporting, and that's exactly what he does on our committee. He's also the head of the finance subcommittee, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how that works in a moment. Dan Clare is also on that finance committee. He's a retired vice president of General Dynamics. He's had executive roles as president of Jet Aviation and chief financial officer of Gulfstream Aerospace. Over 40 years of financial management experience. Rich Trichler, he's been responsible for the maintenance of equipment and replacement and special projects for 303 Associates in Beaufort. That's Dick Stewart's company. Rich is serving as vice chair under Ray Warco, who Ray is going to be the chairman in the 2024 CLOC going ahead. So the committee decided we're basically the same committee, but it's broken into 2 groups. Finishing up the 2019, and then Ray leading the same people forward on the 2024. We also have Marion Johnson Payne. Marion is a retired career educator. She spent a lot of time in K-12 teaching as a reading specialist, assistant principal, a principal, and a middle school director with over 40 years of teaching experience in schools. We have Robert Priest, who's a founding partner of REI Equity Partners, a big real estate-based private equity fund with over 45 years of experience in finance. Michael Swysicki, retired executive VP and president of NBS Card Services in New Jersey and Toronto. His focus was the implementation of continuous improvement processes. And we have a new member coming in, David Trail. Dave's in the back of the room. Dave, you just want to stand up a second? You still here? He left, okay. Dave is a government relations director and community plans liaison officer up at the Marine Air Station. And Dave is going to be heading up our communications subcommittee. So I think you'll agree it's a great roster of people we have. So CLOC stands more than just an acronym, you know, it's people. It's people from the county, all over the county with very well-educated backgrounds in finance and construction, and we're keeping an eye on every penny that has been allocated towards these projects. And I've got to tell you, we've had such great cooperation from just the staff in the district, the project managers, and so forth. And how do we do this? Okay, we meet once a month, but between that, our subcommittees are busy working together. We have 3 subcommittees, a project subcommittee that I head up, and several of us go out a couple times a month to all the varied projects. We get our feet dirty, we walk through the mud, we talk to the project managers, and the other great thing, we get to talk to the principals, the teachers, and even the students. Especially in the 2019 referendum, it was a difficult construction time, probably one of the worst, with COVID-19, with supply chain problems, we had weather problems, we had construction worker deficits and problems, but with all that, the team between the school district, the contractors, the subs, the project managers, and CLOC, we've really put this together, and everything is coming along very, very well. So that's what the project committee does. We have a finance committee that Ray Warco is in charge of. He's got 4 or 5 people that meet during the month, getting information from the district, and we trust everything that we get, but we verify it. We verify every nickel, where it's coming from and where it's going. We ask a lot of hard questions and we get good answers. And we have this communications committee that works on things such as advertising groundbreakings and just general information to the public. We also have a website. It's a sub-website of the district website. Has all our minutes on it and tells everything that we're doing. So what I want to do now is get to slide number 4, Robert. I guess we can skip right through that. It's really the second quarter report. That's what this is tonight. So that'd be through the end of June. And the first project is, call it, the slide says Robert Smalls International Academy. We haven't changed the name yet. It's the Learning Academy.
Leadership.
Is that right?
Leadership.
Leadership Academy, yes, Leadership Academy. And I've just gotten an updated report, and you'll see on that slide, this is a typical slide that we'll see at our meetings. We have one for each project. We use the traffic lights up there, the green, red, and yellow. The green means everything is on schedule, on budget. If we see a yellow one, that clues us in that there's some sort of a problem, and there's generally a notation on the slide that will tell us what's being done, what the problem is, and what's being done to overcome it. On this particular one, there's a red traffic light, and what that represents is that there was a contract with J.E. Dunn, who's the contractor. They had not reached a substantial completion for part of phase 2 on this project, and there were liquidated damages that were in place in the contract. Those are accumulating at a rate of $750 a day, and that's since like May. Talking to the project manager just yesterday, the work is being done. It will be done, and what will happen is that at the end of this, the totals will be lifted up and it will be taken as a deductive cost on the invoice. So the money will be managed that way. But otherwise, besides that one issue, Robert Smalls is on budget, on schedule. We go to the next one, the Hilton Head Middle School right here. This is what we like to see, all green traffic lights. Everything's on budget, on schedule. There'll be a final, it says an OSF, that's an Office of State Facility. Inspection will be done in December of this year. One of the last items, the emergency generator's been delivered to the site, and all the tie-ins were done in July, so that's been completed. The next one, please, is River Ridge Academy. Here again, all green. This is exactly what we like to see. And everything that's indicated on there as far as the technology cabling, concession buildings, that work has been completed as of now. I talked to Tim Summers today, and all of that work is done on time and within budget. And the next slide generally shows the scope, project scope packages. In other words, this isn't the number of schools necessary, but the number of contracts and subcontracts. There's 94 of them, and as you can see, the last one there's 50, half of them are totally completed. 19 are in a closeout phase, and 23 are still lingering in a little bit of construction. But everything's coming to an end in this referendum. So the next one is the financial updates. This is the important one. This is the money we've been watching ever since this first referendum was approved. And in the first line, it shows the money that we started with. We had $344,610,000. The school board approved an additional $31,100,000 in bond premiums to be added to that. And those two combined for $375,710,000, which was the budget. And out of that, you can see we are moving along. 99.56% of that has been paid, committed through the end of June. And we have remaining funds at that time of $1,671,000 and change. And we have some savings that were returned by the way of contingencies, and we used about a little over $500,000 in contingencies. And there's $129,105,000 left in contingency money. So in summary, all of the individual budgets have been adjusted and tracked using a program contingency log, which is on the website. The budget increases were supported by the referendum and contingency in the bond premiums. The dollars spent and encumbered did not exceed the budget project totals, and the dollars spent per project did not exceed the estimated project percentage completion. So our consultants, Turner and Townsend Heery, they continue. We ask them the same question at every meeting. It's the last thing we say. Where are we with the money? Are we going to make it? Are we going to get there with a little bit of change in our pocket? The answer has always been yes, and we call that a soft landing. And we're still looking for a soft landing at the end. All of the projects essentially are on time, at or under budget. We have maybe 2 projects that may have some small things lingering into the first quarter of next year. But we're very happy with such a difficult construction time that we're able to work with this team to bring it to fruition. And speaking for the rest of our committee, I just want to thank you for the honor to allow us to serve you and the public in this capacity. And with that, I'd like to bring on Ray Warco to explain what's going on in the 24 CLOC committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike, and good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You've already heard what we do. I'm not going to repeat all that. You will be hearing from Mike until the 2019 referendum is complete. You're going to be hearing from me each and every meeting until the 23 referendum is complete. That'll take another 4 years. We are still in the first year of this particular referendum. And we have started major projects. And I'm not going to necessarily go through the slides as we have them up here, but you saw across the street when you came in, it's looking like there's a lot going on over there, and there is. And it's going to take this entire 4-year, we think, this entire 4-year period to complete what's going on across the street, because it is the largest of our projects. And it's going to be broken down into 4 phases. Right now, we're on time, we're within budget, everything looks good. The other projects that we have, besides the Hilton Head Island High School, we have the May River Elementary School, which has already been started, the Ladies Island Middle School, and the May River High School CTE renovation. Those 4 projects are underway. Now, the 23 referendum is larger than the 19. It is $439 million. So far, up within this first year, we've already committed, and I'm not saying spent. When I say committed, I mean spending plus signed contracts not to exceed. That number is over $100 million, and that leaves $338 million. Now, you'll see on the contingency that the program contingency is $11,500,000, but each one of the projects has a contingency also, and that contingency, those contingencies all added together equal 17 million. So the total contingency we have is 28 million plus. We've used 356,000 of that, which is not very much. So we have left 28 million. How much of that, of the remaining construction is that? That's over 9%. And I look at that as a good thing. We all look at it as a good thing. The other thing I wanted to mention to you is June 30 is the end of our fiscal year. And when we get the audit report, which will probably be sometime in December 1, we go back and we take all the numbers that we received from the district and tie it back into that annual financial report, which we think is an important thing to do, because they could be giving us anything that looks good to them, but obviously when it gets into that audit report, you know it's a good number. That concludes my report. And you may have some questions, and I want to bring, if there's anything that Mike can answer or I can answer, feel free to ask at this point in time. Any questions? I don't hear anything.
No.
I
And,
see heads shaking, so I'm glad to see that.
Thank you for excellent reports, both of you. And thank you to your committee for all the work you do for the board and the citizens of the county.
We will pass that on to them. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the chair report, and last weekend, several of the board members attended the annual South Carolina School Boards Association Law Conference that was held this year in Charleston, and despite it being just a few days after Tropical Storm Debbie blew through the Low Country, the conference was in full swing, and there were no water problems at the Marriott Hotel where it took place. And I know, having attended the conference and others here attended, and it seemed like it was really an excellent conference. It usually is very informative, giving us updates on laws affecting education, both nationally and state laws. We have now the committee reports. We first have academics reporting, and Chair Chloe Gordon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First, I'd like to thank the academic committee, Dr. Stratus and her team, and Mrs. Kuchenberry for preparing this report for me. I had some eye surgery, so I can't see as well as I used to, but I can see this, I believe. The academic committee met on July 17th, 2024. Dr. Mary Stratus introduced staff who informed the committee of the updates to the following administrative regulations: IS 11, physical education; IS 35, instructional resources and materials; IS 41, student travel; SS 31, extra class activities and organizations; SS 36, student activities, athletes, and SS 39, suspension, expulsion, and alternative assignments of students. The Health Advisory Committee was scheduled their first meeting for July 22nd, but because they did not have a quorum, a second meeting was scheduled for July 29th, and at that time, the committee held an election of officers. Amy Pryor, Chair; Constance Pope, Vice Chair; and Cynthia Colburn Smith, Secretary. Congratulations to all three officers. The committee reviewed the purpose of the committee and the Comprehensive Health Act. They discussed IS 17, health education, and began the review of the adoptive K through 12 health resources. The Health Advisory Committee's next meeting is scheduled for August 22nd at 5:00 p.m. And the next academic committee meeting will be held August 28th at 5:00 p.m. That's the end of the report. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Gordon, for your report. Any questions from the board members? All right, thank you. Next up, we have finance reporting, and that is Colonel Geyer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance Committee met on August 1st, and the first item on the agenda was the monthly Board of Education budget, which shows that we expended our budget properly, in fact, came in under budget for the previous fiscal year. The next fiscal year's budget is laid out. There's a small increase due to increasing costs of paperwork and other things. So the next item was the monthly $100,000 report for the month of May and the transparency report for the month of May. We spent some time looking through that, found a number of items that we had questions about. All items were answered satisfactorily. And I have to tell the public and tell the fellow board members that we really pay a lot of close attention to every dime that is spent by this district. And there are multiple people looking at it, not only in our finance department, but also the committee goes through every page of every item that we purchase. And I think if somebody would be looking at that and have an idea of the size and scope of that, they would be awestruck. One of the things I've asked for to be brought up in the next meeting is to put together, I just want the public to know what we spend for local businesses. And if you look what the local Staples, the local Walmart, Amazon's not really local, but it's all over, and what we spend in the local community, it's really inspiring to show that we are giving back to the community in jobs and positions. Ms. Denise Mattson presented the executive summary for ESSER funds. Those are the COVID federal funds. Through July 29th, 2024, 98% of the COVID funds have been spent, and we are on track by the end of September to spend every dime of almost, I think, $70 million? $70 million of federal funds have been properly spent, not just spent, but properly spent. And that's a great testament to our finance department and to the district, because this money has gone down virtually to every school in the district. And I've been told that we are the model for the state of South Carolina how to execute this funding source from the federal government. Now, we have a motion, we have an item that I'm going to bring Ms. Crosby up to talk about. It's a little bit complex, but Ms. Crosby presented a recommendation allowing the increase of the general fund balance by $7,900,000 and transferring all the remaining excess at the end of the fiscal year 2024 to the Capital Projects Fund for future board discretion. The excess is expected to be approximately $9 million. And I'm going to read the motion, and then I'll have Ms. Crosby explain what the proposal is. The motion is, Madam Chair, I move that the Beaufort County Board of Education authorize the transfer of any increase in the FY24 fund balance above $7,900,000 from the general fund to the Capital Projects Fund.
Okay, thank you, Colonel Guyer, and the motion was seconded by Victor Ney. So, Ms. Crosby, please elaborate.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you for having us this evening to discuss this important proposal or recommendation. So the fund balance is the discussion this evening, and the fund balance is the excess reserves that are held in the district's cash accounts or fund accounts. And we're talking specifically of what those reserves would be at June 30th, 2024, so this past June, and what that will look like at the end of our fiscal year that we're having, we're undergoing an audit now, and we'll issue financial statements by December 1st, as we mentioned earlier. So the fund balance is important for a few purposes. Having a healthy fund balance does a couple of main things. The board has a policy that we shall maintain a fund balance, that we shall not have or need a tax anticipation note. What that means is at June 30, we are in the prime of the dollar amount of fund balance. We take in tax revenues in December and January, so that's the high point of our cash balance. And we take in very little revenues throughout the rest of the remainder of the school year. So our lowest point in cash flows as we pay teachers and other staff and other expenses is around October, November, which happens to also be hurricane season. So we need to have enough cash reserves during that time to not go in the negative, not have to borrow funds, temporary funds, pay interest costs, administrative costs, and those types of things. So that it's very important that we have enough at June 30th to make our way through the fall timeframe. And so until the tax bills go out again in November, December. So that's one. The second main important reason to have a good fund balance is our credit rating. We just passed a $439 million bond referendum. We are now beginning to issue bonds. We just went out for a credit rating, and I have an update later on in the presentation on the agenda. But we go out for a credit rating just like someone borrowing a mortgage or a car, a vehicle loan. And we too get a rating, and it is really critical for that rating to be as high as possible. And so for us, a AA1 is the highest we can possibly achieve. And maintaining a healthy fund balance in comparison to our peer school districts and governments that also have a AA1 is very critical to maintaining our good rating and getting the lowest possible interest rates that we can. So as we're continuing to borrow through a series of bonds over the next 4 to 5 years as we're doing these construction projects, that is really, really important. So we are fortunate this year, our local tax revenue has come in very strong. We are already exceeding the tax revenue budget by $12 million. We're expecting to collect at least another $1 million in our delinquent taxes that are coded back to the prior fiscal year, attributed to that year. So in all, we believe that we're going to have an excess of at least $17 million this year. And my recommendation, that will be 22.7% fund balance. So it's really important that I think our current fund balance when we began the fiscal year was 20%. And my recommendation is to stay at 20%. And shift the excess funds over to a capital projects account that is then at the board's discretion for any specific needs that we may have. There's a number of needs. They could be emergencies. They could be buses. They could be HVACs. So it will allow us to identify needs and then target those funds for any specific needs that may be coming forward. So maintaining that fund balance percentage is a key, not the specific dollar amount, because as our budget grows, if we maintain the same dollar amount of fund balance, our fund balance percentage will decline. So we want to maintain that 20%, so it must grow a little each year as well. So that's the reasoning for adding to the fund balance at $7.9 million and shifting the rest, whatever that final number will be as we get closer to our December 1st audited number, and allow the district to transfer those funds. And then when that final number comes forward, we will report that back to the board very close to the November, December timeframe. And so this motion does reflect that we would transfer that excess, but I will be I will be coming back to the board to inform you exactly amount of what that transfer, and it will show as a line item on our financial statements as a transfer to capital projects funds. So, so this evening, I'm just requesting this for two main reasons. Again, the bond rating, to maintain the bond rating, to remove the need for, continue to not need a tax anticipation note, which we're in our second year of not issuing a TAN, although we had issued it previously for the last 20 years. But also, this motion gives the board flexibility to do what they need to do to address certain needs but we also had the flexibility, if for any unforeseen shortfalls, we could move it back to the general fund. Any of the movement of these funds will require board approval, so they aren't authorized. We cannot authorize them without your approval. And so this will work. We will close the fiscal year financial statements, issue the audit report. We will do a journal entry to make that transfer, and then we will come back to the following board meeting and report out to the board. So I'll be happy to take any questions you may have. I know this real foreign concept, but I think it's important to maintain our fund balance at a conservative level, but yet still be able to transfer it in an area where we have some flexibility and to address needs.
So, question for you, Tanya. Thank you for your presentation. So, could this also decrease the need for borrowing for against our 8% of our property values? It seems like it could be offset some of that borrowing. Is that true?
Yes, that is true.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments, or Mr. Smith?
In terms of moving this money over to the 8%, at what point will you consider us needing to be able to use this money from the 8% projects?
As soon as the transfer is made and you are informed of the dollar amount, we can, the board could direct us to identify needs for all or some or of the funding at any time.
Well, basically, the 8% the funding will just be, moving the money to the 8% is basically a kind of will be a holding, is that correct?
It'll be held, yes. And any funds held in reserve, I always report in March of each year when we have our debt program updates. I report any funds that are held and that had not been identified for specific funding. I will bring those forward. And so I will report it at least annually in the March report.
Right, and from what you just said, basically, that money it won't be spent upon unless the board is voted upon that, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Colonel Guyer.
I also want to point out that this is a one-time affair. This is because this particular year, we didn't know how many new apartments would come online, how many new houses would be sold, that's additional money that comes in. We don't know about every house that was purchased for $200,000 and over the time they got homestead exemption, so it's assessed at $150,000, but then they sold it that last year for $400,000. So that house is bringing in double, maybe even triple the amount of tax for that one piece of property. So this is a one-time thing, and putting it at 8%, but we also, in the Operations Committee, and it probably will be mentioned, because Mr. Smith asked for this about the school district fleet overview, all the vehicles, the buses and everything else, and frankly, it's shocking of how many we had. I had no idea we had that many. And then to see the average age, the average number of miles, and so on, very concerning to see that. And when you get a windfall, a one-time windfall, there's a couple things you can do. One, you can make a big mistake and put it into something that will cost you recurring more money every year, like adding salaries or something like that. Or you can use that to increase your productivity, to increase or decrease the amount of maintenance you're going to have to spend on older vehicles. You might have an investment so you don't have to spend as much on gas because they're more efficient. So this is an opportunity, one time, to look at how we're going to spend this money. What we can't do, and what I asked initially was, okay, we get this extra money and we got it in the debt service fund, let's pay off our debt a little quicker. But what I was told was that our debt, unlike a mortgage, like if we got, say, $100,000 that showed up in our banking account, our personal banking account, you'd say, well, we'll just send that in and pay off principal on my mortgage. Well, we can't do that with a bond. A bond has a call date, and it's generally about 10 years. And you can't renegotiate or call in that bond to pay it off early for about 10 years. So it's not like a mortgage. It is much more difficult. So what we're going to be able to do, though, is at a one-time period, make ourselves healthy for the long term.
Okay, are we ready to vote? I see no further hands up. So the motion is displayed on the screen. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Middleton? Aye. Thank you. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Tanya.
Madam Chair, that completes the finance report.
All right, thank you, Colonel Guyer. Any questions for Colonel Guyer? Yes, so speak into the microphone, please.
Okay. This is kind of a question, but I appreciate Colonel Guyer. I wasn't able to attend, but I did watch the Finance Committee, and you do absolutely go over things. And some of the things that I had noticed you had already asked and answered about. And one thing that comes up a lot is the money on technology. So what I do want to have, this is sort of a future topic / comment, the Technology Committee to dig into. We bought new mini computers, small computers for a new visitor management system. So that's probably a couple $100,000 when all is said and done. But what I'm interested in is I looked into this visitor management system, and I'm going to be interested in how we are maximizing that investment, how we're utilizing it fully, because the new visitor management system, it has tremendous more security options, but it also will allow kids to get rid of paper. They'll be able to check in and out electronically. That data can be kept and reported on, and it will integrate with PowerSchool. So I'll follow up with that on in the Technology Committee, but I do think that there's a lot of little loose ends out there that are technology related, that are good investments, but I do think we need to make sure that when we purchase these systems that they get implemented, trained, and fully utilized. So that's only a comment.
All right, thank you. So next, reporting, we have operations, and is it Victor, are you reporting because Carlton is not able to attend tonight?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Colonel Guyer, for stealing some of my thunder. That's one last thing I have to talk about. Appreciate that. We also reviewed the last quarter two's forward report. And we talked about construction, which has already been talked about tonight. So the last thing that I just wanted to bring light to was the IGSA, which was mentioned earlier in the motion. We have entered into a partnership with Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort for use of technical expertise. The motion may have sounded a little confusing, so I just want to clarify. There is no money from the taxpayers going onto the air station. They are using our expertise, not our money. So I just want to be clear about that. But the partnership is to basically to use source data and any other state and local government to provide, receive, and share installation support services if the Secretary determines that the agreement will serve in the best interest of the Department by enhancing mission effectiveness and creating efficiencies or economies of scale, including by reducing costs, which the air station can do by using our expertise. So, that being said, I conclude what is left of the presentation.
Well said, and very succinct. Any questions for Mr. Ney? Yes. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda, we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Rodriguez reporting.
Thank you, and good evening, board members. This evening, under the superintendent's report, under student achievement, we're going to share a little bit of information first on the update on teacher opening day, essentially just share information about the event that we hosted with all of our teachers and administrators and educators. Here to do that is Dr. Stratos and Dr. Campbell.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. This evening, I have the honor of bringing forward our Instructional Service Officer, Dr. Nakia Campbell. She will be sharing highlights from the opening of school, so please give us a few minutes. Thank you. Doc?
Good evening.
Video, the first.
talk a little bit with everyone here about our trajectory.
All right, good evening. I'm here to present to you a presentation about our opening of schools, professional development, training, and support for our teachers, administrators, and support staff. I wanted to start with one quote. Ziegler says it best: "You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great." And I basically think that this quote kind of summarizes our work over the summer as we provided the necessary trainings and support for our teachers and staff for them to prepare for the new year. It is the very act of planning and taking the steps towards being great, and that's what we're charged with doing. I want to begin the presentation by telling you that a lot of our preparation doesn't just begin in the summer, but it actually begins before we close the school year out. And we started with our new teacher orientation. And our orientation is a collaboration between human resource, instructional services department, technology, and facilities, as well as finance. And we help to support over 300 new hires to include certified and classified. Our orientations are scheduled weekly, beginning in May, and our orientations included support for technology, policy, software, hardware, HR benefits, and a lot of other opportunities for support. On June 20th and 21st, HR department conducted a 2-day training for our principals and assistant principals. This intensive boot camp training provided our school leaders with tools to hit the ground running for the year. The boot camp included HR policies, local, state, federal, legal, and safety policies and procedures. We had over 100 school leaders that were in attendance. On July 24th, the Instructional Services Department held a professional development training for more than 100 attendees. And our attendees included both our principals, assistant principals, and instructional coaches. The day was jam-packed with instructional updates, resources and materials that were beneficial for the attendees. And our goal for that day was to provide professional development support to help in promoting continuous improvement in our schools and the students that we serve. That training was held at our Beaufort Jasper ACE, again, July 24th. On July 25th, we had our athletic coaches convocation. And as you know, our coaches and athletic directors play a pivotal role in shaping the athletic and extracurricular experiences for our students that we serve. And to support them in that role, our Human Resources Department sponsored the coaches convocation, which incorporated professional development focused on safety, leadership, and best practices for our coaches. And the athletic coaches convocation was held at Battery Creek, and we had more than 150 middle school and high school athletic coaches that were in attendance. On July 27th, we had our annual Back to School Expo, and this was facilitated and organized by our Student Services Department. at our Back to School Expo. It was held at Battery Creek High School. This is one of our family engagement events where our students and families come out to learn more about the school before the start of school, meet the principal, staff, and receive resources and connect to our community agencies. Students at the Back to School Expo receives school supplies to include book bags. Nearly 500 families pre-registered for the event, and nearly 1,100 students were in attendance. We had 71 vendors that were present. On July 31st, which you saw the video that kind of shared what we did as a district, our district professional development day was held at Bluffton High School and H.E. McCracken, and we began the day with a general session. Dr. Frank Rodriguez, our superintendent, provided a motivational message to our staff, fostering the culture of continuous improvement for all students. And after the general session, teachers and support staff were able to select among 150 sessions, professional development sessions, that day. We had more than 2,300 teachers and support staff, as well as administration, in attendance. On August 1st, 2024, we held our first TIDES dual enrollment orientation for our high school students. The Beaufort TIDES program is a dual enrollment partnership for qualifying ninth graders to enroll in a full-time dual enrollment cohort at the Technical College of the Lowcountry. We had more than 50 participants in attendance for that. And August 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 6th were scheduled school-based professional development days, but we had to make adjustments due to our tropical storm, Debbie. So our schools were able to provide school-based professional development on August 1st and 2nd. All of our principals submitted professional development agendas outlining the level of training and alignment to our district goals. And even though there was a delay in the school start, I believe that we had a great start. And I know that the preparation and training that we provided our teachers and administration and support will be beneficial for a successful school year. I want to thank our board members for your continued support and providing the necessary professional development and training for our teachers, and we could not do that without you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board members? Victor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As far as the Student Expo goes, you said we had just under 1,100 students. We have 21,500 students. So, I mean, if my math's right, I'm a Marine, so like we got just under 5%. What can we do in the future to get more of our students to the Student Expo? I mean, because 5% seems like a pretty small attendance.
Well, again, that was our student services, so I feel that maybe more preparation, advertisement could also help us. I think we need to set specific goals so that we know. I don't know what the information or data was last year to see if that we increased enrollment from last year to this year, but that would be maybe advantageous for us to make sure that we have a specific goal to see that we accomplish that goal.
We could broaden the opportunity, sir, for collaboration. We did work with student services, and as Dr. Campbell shared, has increased the opportunity of media to get the word out. At that, I would also take into consideration a larger venue, because it was a full house. So as we look at setting goals, as Dr. Campbell suggested, we could also look at working at a larger venue as well, sir.
Mr. Smith?
Just to add to that, actually, there is a large amount of people. It may not sound large as in the actual number that is said, but in terms of serving communities that we have served, to if you go and see it, it is a very large amount of people, and the people they're going there for a service. So that's another component of understanding it's more of a, when you go to the county have a area called One Stop Shop. So for kids come back to school, that's kind of a one-stop shop to see your school and also to get any school supplies that you may need. So in terms of every student in this district may just not need, or some students in this district may not need that one-stop shop because some families are more fortunate than others. But that's the motive of that. It started because of it's a one-stop shop to help aid families who may need some assistance to be successful throughout the years. So I just wanted to commend them on doing that, and looking forward to even growing it in financial as well, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Okay. Next item on the superintendent's report is under fiscal responsibility, and it's the credit rating update that Ms. Crosby spoke about earlier. And so she's going to come up at this time and provide information on that for you.
Good evening again. I gave a preview to some of the important aspects of having a strong credit rating. We actually had a credit rating the first week of August, and in anticipation of the bond sale of the bond anticipation note, which was a one-year bond that was the first referendum bond issue of $50 million. We actually had 7 bidders, and we came in with an interest rate of 3.1%, which was a very healthy interest rate considering the interest rate environment now. The purpose of the ban, again, was to do a temporary bond so that any further reductions in the interest rate as we go on and do expect in the course of the next few quarters, we will take advantage of that by issuing a permanent bond in January. And the amount of that for the referendum will be $182 million. Also in August 15th is planned a closing on the $43 million 8% bonds. So we have that coming up as well. And so as you can see, a series of bond issues, how critically important a strong bond rating is. So the report we provided to you just gives you a snapshot of some of the scorecard that Moody's rating agency in New York provided to us. And some of the highlights of that are that the credit strengths were the fund balance, also a growing population in our area. We are considered have high amounts of assessed values as compared to other of property values as compared to others across the state, and sound fiscal financial management and prudent budget and capital planning. So those things were cited as being very strong. Consistent leadership is really important, and those things are seen as very positive aspects. And that's really important because the Moody's has a scorecard, and they have certain data in the third page that I provided, certain items, resident income, full value, property values, and they compare us to other like districts, other like governmental agencies, and we actually scored as a AA2, which is below where we are now. But the strength in our fund balance was able to notch us up and to keep us to maintain that AA1. So it's very important that that and the other aspects of our strengths are held to be able to keep us at that level. So I just, and the reasoning for that level is to lower interest rates and essentially to pass that savings along to our taxpayers. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby. Any questions or comments from the board members? Victor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As far as the credit challenges, listed as one is reserves and liquidity levels below those of similarly rated districts. But yet we just decided to pass a fund overage of $7.9 million into our operations. So can you speak on that? Because that seems contradictory.
Liquidity levels. So reserves and liquidity levels below those of similarly rated districts. So others do have in the 25% range or that sort of thing. So those who, but our reserves were still growing and at a level that was high enough to keep us at the current rating. So although the reserves aren't as large as some of the AAA districts, for example, we did still have a healthy fund balance in their opinion. So that reserve, it just shows how, it demonstrates how important that fund balance reserve is.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, Dr. Lee will be coming forward. As you know, we have the state legislation requiring cell phone bans. And so Dr. Lee and our team got to work in preparation for it. And she's here to just give you a final update on the cell phone ban from where we left last time.
All right, good evening, Madam Chair and board members. I'm here tonight to provide you with an update with the cell phone policy. We met with principals a few weeks ago and we went through the AR, the administrative regulation, and provided them with the documents that you received this evening. The first document is the Personal Electronic and Communication Device Guidelines, which you've seen previously. This went out, these documents are also on the website in English and in Spanish, and they were provided by to the administrators to be able to go home to parents. The second document are the consequences. We took the consequences from the discipline matrix and put them all on one page so that it was easy to follow for our administrators, but also for our parents and our students. And you can see that it goes from, there are 8 infractions there. It goes from level 1, level 2, and level 3. At the bottom, we also provided additional guidance for any questions. So if a student refuses to give up a device, what actually happens at that point in time? And that at no point, we talked about this previously, at no point should a teacher or an administrator actually take from a student by force a device, and what would happen if that were to occur and a student wouldn't give them their device up. So we went through these discussions with principals. They also had some other scenarios and other questions that we went through, and we were able to talk through that. One of the major things that we talked about when we had these discussions was consistency, enforcement, and communication. And we've worked as a district to make sure that the communication has gone out to our parents and to our students. And so far for the first 3 days, we haven't had any major disruptions. Hopefully that stays the same. And I would say that is attributed to our parents and having that discussion and really wanting to focus on academic instruction. We also provided scripts to our administrators. You don't have that document, but we provided, as you requested, a morning announcement script and also scripts for our teachers at the beginning of the class to state to the students. And then that last document is research. We put that on a one-pager. Colleen did that. It looks really good. But just to provide some information. Lastly, to the administrators, we provided all of the links that we originally provided to you, just so that they had that information, so that if parents did request or wanted additional information and research, they had that. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Boat right.
Thank you. So from what I've heard from parents, that it's off to a good start. There was some confusion, and I don't think it was a lack of communication. I think my observation is that parents don't pay as much attention to an update to an AR. Mm-hmm. We update a lot of ARs, we update discipline codes, et cetera. That kind of level of, to be honest with you, it's a little wonky, a little policy wonky type thing, doesn't necessarily penetrate into the dinner table conversations. And I think that what needs to come across to the community, and it's on parents and community members, it's not just on the school, but is that this is a cultural shift that's occurring nationwide, that this is something that everyone has to get behind to make it more effective. So I think that's where some of the communication is it was well communicated, but it was communicated like a discipline update, as opposed to this is gonna kids are gonna hate this, it's gonna be a tremendous uphill battle. The one thing I will say, I do have a bit of a concern is you guys, I'm sure, are going to meet and tweak this going forward. Having the phone in the pocket, I think, is not a good idea. And the reason is a lot of the research shows that it's the interruption to the train of thought. So when my kid's home, he's got his iPad and he'll not be in the room, but I hear bing, bing, bing going off because they're all texting each other, posting things. So it's that notification, even if it's silent in the pocket, they're going to be feeling these vibrations. And so the research shows that once that kid is like, oh, I want to check that, it can take a while before he refocuses on the classroom. So I would just pay attention to that as this process moves forward to see if that's something that maybe is working or is still causing problems. However, we can assess that.
Okay, thank you. And that is something that we're doing. The executive directors are keeping track. They're looking at the discipline, and they're also meeting and talking with principals. And we will regularly get back and adjust as we need to. So that is something to take into consideration. Thank you.
Colonel Guyer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one question. Do you have any latest news from the state as what we can anticipate?
I can speak to that.
Yeah, so, actually, any adjustments to what we're doing, the timing might be best in January, once we've had a chance to collect some data along the way on our own progress and implementation, because my understanding is that it'll be sometime in January when we get information from the state on their interpretation of that legislation and what school districts will have to do. So there may be a requirement there for us to make some adjustments at that time anyhow. And so that seems to me, after gathering enough information, and that may be whatever changes they're bringing forward, whatever implementation or interpretation they have, when they bring that forward, may be the ideal time to make those adjustments.
I can also speak to that a little bit. I was asked by the South Carolina School Boards Association, a handful of board members in the state were invited to the South Carolina Department of Education on July 25th for a meeting regarding this cell phone policy. So the General Assembly has passed, I believe it's a proviso as opposed to legislation, and they've tweaked it a little bit. And as I recall, the wording now is that students will not be able to access, and I think that's a key word, during, and it's no longer instruction time, it's during the school day, their device. And it's not going to be, they cannot implement it and make it a statewide requirement until January, as Dr. Rodriguez just said. So it's very likely, I mean, I think the public and the parents, this is a state requirement, and it's coming very soon. And so I think we took a great lead on, as the board, it was the board's will to start now, and preferably start at the beginning of the school year. And I just think it's important for the public to know that. And it is, as Ms. Boatwright said, I mean, it's nationally, this is kind of a big change that, we've really, it's recognized how detrimental just constant, interruption and whatnot from your cell phone is just, it's not good for academic achievement and academic performance. I did share with the SCDE are the documents that we had developed so far, or that your team had developed, Dr. Rodriguez, and they were very impressed with how we were going to implement it now at the beginning of the school year. So I just wanted to add that. Earl.
I think parents have to also understand this is not only a state law. The federal government is also going to come out with about use of cell phone. And that's going to be sometime the first of next year. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Well, one of the only concerns that I have in terms of where we're at is when January comes, how much more rigorous or lax we will have to train our students in terms of listening to the language, because there's always it's important upon the language and the directions or the direct words that are used, and that those language, the words that were used just now, it's a little more unrelaxed. So I'm looking at in terms of lunch or certain times, then that means absolutely that would not allow students to use cell phones during those times. So that does kind of concern me in terms of how we move forward as a state and as a school board, because I mean, I'm sure people know that how I feel, that I'm not really fully on board with this. But at the end of the day, all boards don't move it with the state, unfortunately. Some people disagree, but so I mean, that's just concerning me in terms of how we will move that plan forward. And I'll leave it there.
I think, we're going to have to wait and see what the state's interpretation is and what they push down the line. But whatever that is,
Right.
we will have to comply with, right? And so I think this is a big step because that we've already taken. But if the interpretation is that even at the high school level, it's not allowed at all during the day, right? Not just during instructional time, but during the day.
Right.
Then we will have to communicate that with our families and our students at the high school level and let them know that the state's interpretation of this proviso is that that's not allowed during lunch. And so we're not going to be able to do that any longer, right? But I think we've taken a major step in dealing with the issue just by starting early from the beginning of the year. And we haven't said this yet this evening, right? But truthfully, hats off to our students who are really following along and maybe not happy about it, but understanding kind of where we are and why. And so we haven't said that yet, but my hat goes off to our students because their cooperation in this process is essential.
And I definitely do agree with that, Dr. Rodriguez. Also, in terms of, I hope that the state, and I'm talking to the state representatives who are watching right now, I hope that if that is the language that you do want to use, that you do understand that the students, well, I know within this district, have been nice to us. So I think that you have to give a little bit to take a little bit. So I think that a little negotiation would be preferred in terms of allowing those students to use that phone during that lunch period time. I think that everybody to give and take a little bit. Thank you.
And I will say, to Dr. Rodriguez's point, the first day of school, I was at 3 middle schools, and I only heard twice that an administrator or a teacher had to say, put your phones away. So students were complying, and they did exactly what was requested of them. So, any other question? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So the last item on the superintendent's report this evening is an update from our Right Choices Director. So we have had several Right Choices Director over a series of years. But I want to bring up Dr. Worrell, who is our director over our alternative education program. And one of the things that I think, we're all very impressed with in the work that is happening over there is the structure that he's bringing to an alternative ed program. And I think that's necessary. I think that's important. And he's grounding his work in national standards for alternative education program. And so whenever you can do that, then you have something to measure your progress along the way. And so Dr. Worrell is here, and I'm going to turn it over to him to tell you about what he's doing.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. I want to introduce briefly my newly appointed Assistant Director of Alternative Education, Dr. Renee Jenkins. She's joined us. But I will tell you, as you see on the board, Dr. Rodriguez did a pretty good job of pretty much summarizing where we are with alternative ed. One of the major factors in alternative ed is that it is not what you think it is. In most districts, people have a concept of alternative ed as being those students over there, and as a former traditional regular ed administrator, we want kids out of school who disrupt. But we also know, the research tells us that when a kid is acting out, they're really crying out. And as intelligent educators, we have to be able to decipher that cry as though they were a baby. If a baby cries, is the baby hungry? Is the baby dry? Is the baby tired? So all cries do not mean the same thing. And so the new standard of alternative ed is looking at diverse learners and making sure that we can respond to them and not just merely react to them. And the only way you can do that is to take a holistic look of the whole child and then begin to measure it, as Dr. Rodriguez says, against standards. Now, we have a lot of work to do. We've done a lot of work in the last year, but we still have a whole lot of work to do. And I don't want to read this to you because you can read. And I just don't believe in reading to intelligent people. But I want to show you on that last bulleted point where it says key points. Second page, I believe. Second page where it says key points. I'm sorry. It says that we provided services for 135 students throughout school year 23-24, and you have the breakdown of the grades. Now, that last sentence says there was one physical altercation with 135 students, and that speaks to the structure. Our students know what to expect every single day. We do not move the goalposts. When they come in, the expectation is set. We tell them what the expectation is, then we inspect what we expect. However, we support them every single day along the way. And every day has to be a new day. Out of that, and I did not put this in this particular presentation, but I want you to know that school year 22-23, as best we can tell, there were 31 return students, which that means is that students went back to their home school during the school year, and then 31 of them returned. Out of 135 students that we serviced through 6th and 12th grade there at Right Choices, only 8 students returned to us. Now, I need the board's help to make sure that we change the conversation surrounding alternative ed. These are our students, they belong to us, and they deserve the very best that we have to offer them. So let me repeat what I just said. I need your support in changing and reframing the conversation around alternative ed, because these are our students, they belong to us, and they need our support. So, in conclusion, I want you to know that Beaufort County School District Alternative Education Program has done good work, but there's still a whole lot of work to do so that we can redesign and align our practices, our processes, and our procedures to national standards. Once we do that, it makes no difference who the director of alternative education is. It's all about what the standards say that must be done to better support students on their journey to success. So I'm going to end by saying this. I issue an invitation for any one of you all to come out to Right Choices to sit down with us so we can do a deep dive into what's happening at Right Choices and the support that we've received from senior staff and district office at Beaufort County School District. Are there any questions?
Chloe?
Thank you for your presentation. But
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for what you're doing for alternative program for kids and inviting us to come along this journey. It's impressive, and I don't think it's sounding the way that it should sound, but 135 students in the alternative school. And how many did you say returned?
8.
That's awesome. That's incredible. Kudos to what you're doing and following the standards, because these are our students and they are in all of our schools and they represent Beaufort County. And they also represent what you, as their director, is putting out for your staff, expectations. And when kids know what the expectations are, they will comply. But you have to do it every day.
Yes, ma'am.
So I appreciate you, and I will be coming by to see you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Colonel Guyer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Right Choices, of course, is at the district office in District 4. That's my district. I had a chance to sit down with Dr. Burrell. And here's one of the first things he told me that really hit me very hard. He said, we have to look at those children in his program as no different than those children that we send out for advanced placement to a different school. These are children that have been identified, advanced placement, they're bored, they're ahead of the class, so they put them in advanced placement. These are children that are learning in a different manner or a different way or have different issues. And so when we put them in that school, it's like putting the bright kid in the advanced placement. And we have to give the same kind of priority to those children as we give to the advanced placement children. I had never thought about it that way, but it's absolutely right. I'll also say that this is the 5th director that I've had the chance to talk to since I've been on the board in 5.5 years. And we need stability, and we need the standards that he mentioned is so important that we have consistent standards, and then hopefully we keep Dr. Burrell around a good long time to enforce those standards.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Smith?
Dr. Farrar, I'd just like to say I definitely appreciate the work that you and your staff do, because I visited there. And the one thing about it is I've learned that those kids understand that once they get from out of there, that you don't just stop checking on them. Because I heard a kid say, well, now you know, Mr. Farrell might come by the school and see us now, and we ain't trying to go back there. So I remember a point in time when that was the place where students did want to go and hang out. And I appreciate that I appreciate you changing that and telling them to understand that, look here, if you go back to your regular school and you having problems, then you contact me. Yeah. And to hear students say that mean more than you coming up and saying, pitching us a great picture and saying this is what we're doing. When you can hear it and see it and breathe it, then you know life is in the building. And for the work that you've done in your staff, I appreciate that. And just keep up the good work, and I'm looking to see where you're going to take this program at. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Burrell. And Dr. Guaz, that concludes Superintendent's report.
All right, we don't have any board business action, so we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay. All right, we'll give it to Smith, and then who seconded it? Boatright. Okay. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye.
Middleton, aye.
All right, consent agenda approved. Any announcements, Dr. Rodriguez?
No, Dr. Guaz.
Okay, thank you. Just for the board members, you had at your seat tonight, yes, a request to let Robin and Molly know if you'll be attending the SCSBA Regional Advocacy Meeting that I believe is next month and is actually going to be held at Whale Branch Middle School. So that'll be kind of nice that we don't have to travel out of the county to go to the meeting. Now we're on to our second public comments. I'll tell the board that we have 11 cards here, which means probably about 33 minutes if everybody uses the maximum time. So we're going to exceed the 15 minutes, and if there's an objection to that, please make a motion, and we'll go from there. So first up, we have James Miller, who will be speaking on the tenure of the band directors.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. I've spoke the last couple meetings about the importance that arts and specifically instrumental music it just doesn't supplement but increases academic performance. Now I'm ready, and will be coming probably more than once, to talk about where we stand. I've had many conversations with the administration. I feel comfortable that we're working toward that goal, but I think you should know, if you don't know, the situation with the tenure of our band program. 3/4 of the band directors this year will be either in that position for the first time or 1 year. That means the median tenure for a band director is 1 year. I submit to you something is going on, and if that were the case for music or were case for English, science, math, etc., you folks would be upset, and the people who elected you would be upset. I'd just like to I have a minute left. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to just think about what I said. What would it be like if 50% turnover was occurring in math teachers, science teachers, etc.? I'll be back and we'll talk about specific things. I do want to compliment the district. I've had 5, I think, meetings over the past year. I know they are aware, they're talking, we're trying to make things work. I'll just say one other thing. Of the openings for this year, only one was hired and they're on the first day of school. There's still 3 openings. I think one may be in the process of being filled because it's no longer posted, but I think there's a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Terry Lynn Tamayo, and her topic is restrictions, exclusion of students in band program.
Hopefully y'all can see me over this podium because I'm short. So tonight seems to have a theme with the music, fine arts department, and everything like that. My children attend Battery Creek High School, and we were just informed that we're losing probably about 7 children in our band program due to, I guess, updates to, the SS-36 of student athletics, saying that we are not allowed to have these children participate in our band anymore. That's incredibly disheartening because, as discussed earlier in your events, such as the ACE performance and the back to school event, the band was requested to play there, specifically the Battery Creek Band. They did you guys all proud in representing you in Chicago. The only South Carolina school to have been represented there, requested to attend. It seems a little disheartening that that same support isn't returned when they've come to support you at multiple events like this. It is cited that the band program is offered at other schools within the district. And while that may be kind of true, those bands do not offer the same things that the Battery Creek Marching Band does. They do not offer a HBCU style marching. They do not compete throughout the state, not just in the county. So there's really no comparison between the other bands and the Battery Creek Band. So I feel like that should not constitute as a reason to exclude the kids. We had, I believe, 13 seniors graduate this year from the Battery Creek Marching Band. 4 of them have applied to colleges and their music programs. I believe at least 2, maybe 3 of them were HBCUs, and all of those students received scholarships to go to college. They were all accepted. They were all accepted to the program, which they had to audition for. That's 100%. You're not going to find numbers like that or anything through like athletics and things of that nature. So, with everything being taken away from them there in Beaufort, they no longer have a movie theater, a bowling alley, no other activities for teenage students to participate in. This is one of the things that they work very, very diligently towards building to be able to further their education. And it's like those opportunities are being taken from them. The exposure to colleges and all of that, those opportunities are being taken from these 7 children that are no longer going to be allowed to participate in this band. So I really urge you guys to reconsider that rule and allow those students to participate, especially since some of them have been there already for years.
Thank you. Next up, we have Judith Howard. Her topic is retainment of student for band and funding.
Good evening. The Battery Creek High School Dolphin Pride Marching Band is unique and unlike the other marching bands in Beaufort County. It fully embraces and celebrates the rich and diverse culture of the Beaufort County area, which that is difficult to emulate by the other high school marching bands locally. The band instructors and teachers have fostered an environment for our children by encouraging hard work and dedication, discipline, and bolstering camaraderie among the participating students. These positive traits and characteristics instilled through this program are not only reflected in our community, but also throughout the nation. There are 7 high school students, I believe some of them are here tonight, that have been participating with Battery Creek's marching band for the past 7 years. Last week, they were informed that they will no longer be allowed to practice or participate in any of the band's functions because the school district is concerned about liability and that other high schools have their own marching band. To be part of something so great for so long, to have it taken away from you is a heavy blow to deliver on children and could possibly impede or dissuade them from continuing their dreams and desire for music to get all together. Most of these students are unable to transfer to Battery Creek, either from family, timing, or logistical conflicts or issues. I would like to ask to place yourself in their young and emotional state and imagine how they must feel to abruptly be told that they're no longer to participate in the ranks of this distinguished and highly praised and renowned group of musicians, where they have spent the last 7 years building that camaraderie and being a part of something larger than themselves, not to mention the remarkable guidance from the instructors and teachers. Do we really want to identify as a major life disappointment in public school education and fine arts? We're asking for the school board and district to reevaluate the decision of not allowing outside high schoolers the opportunity to continue the development of their musical talents and pursuing their dreams with the Battery Creek Marching Band, where they have dedicated so much time and effort while grasping the importance of camaraderie with other students and band instructors. In closing, our children should never be denied the opportunity to be the best that they can be with the best school. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jamie Finley speaking about Battery Creek High School band policy.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Finley Scriven. I am the band booster president, but more importantly, I am a parent of a band student, one graduating this year, one who graduated in 2023, an alumni of Battery Creek High School myself, class of 2004. After Ms. Judith, I don't really know what else to say, but a few of the things that I have noted. I was made aware yesterday in my meeting with Lassard that a decision was made from the board passed in December of 2023 where you guys voted, this is what I was told, to make the band program at Battery Creek school of choice, stating liability reasons and that other schools had a band. Not this Sunday, but past Sunday, I received phone calls from parents whose children were told that they were no longer allowed to participate in our band. These are students who we have had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in our band program. This is our family. These students are our family, and they know Ms. James gonna come and represent for them. With that being said, they were talking about the liability. One of the things that we were saying, well, there are a lot of forms that come from the district where there are a lot of waivers put in for certain things that when students are doing different things, maybe that can be considered as a reason to overturn the decision that was made. Also, as stated, some of these kids aren't able to attend in the daytime. However, they're using their own resources, their parents, their gas, their transportation to get here to be a part of this program. When we are asked to perform, these kids show up. Not one time have they turned down. Even when funding has been an issue, we have showed up. As far as the other schools having bands, other schools do not have an HBCU style band and they do not perform like us. Some of the schools have core style. Some of them have a general band program, but they don't have this program. They don't have majorettes. They don't have the type of flags that we have. They don't perform the type of way that we do. And with that being said, that opens the opportunity for some of our students to go and apply, audition to get scholarships to schools. My daughter and herself plans to go to NCAT with her audition when she graduates. So I'm asking you guys to please reverse, please meet with us, please take into consideration the children, because if it's about the children, then it needs to be about our children and not feelings. I don't know if any of the kids signed paperwork to speak, but I would like for you guys to hear from the kids as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Samantha Hodges, also speaking on band.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. I am a parent of a band student. She has been in band since the 7th grade. She was able to participate by going through Robert Smalls and being able to have the opportunity to learn multiple instruments. She only learned with one, and over time she has grown to learn more than one instrument. I am not sure if you are aware, but the education level of South Carolina is ranked 45 out of 50, and that's not something to be proud of. What is something to be proud of is the fact that South Carolina has opportunities, very few opportunities, to recognize these children for the talents that they have. And Battery Creek is one of the best bands I've ever seen perform anywhere. I don't know if you attend any of the football games. I have been a silent listener. People will say that they think this is a college level performance. I don't see that from Whale Branch. I don't see that from Beaufort High. I have seen many disorganized formations during the parades. You guys put in your regulation SS 31 for extracurricular activities and organizations that you guys promote, you encourage sense of accomplishment, leadership opportunities, good sportsmanship, self-discipline and individual responsibility, encourage cooperation and concepts of team building, provide healthy outlets and competition and physical fitness, and develop personal skills and talents. And every single one of these kids on this band show all those qualities. They represent this district, they represent this school, and they represent this state. And to take this opportunity away from the children who deserve it most, and any future child that wants to participate in this band, that's really shameful. There is nothing in here that states that a child cannot participate in any of these activities if they don't belong to that school. Apparently this was voted on in December, but according to the website, this was not updated in December. The last update was in June of 2023. So I highly suggest that you guys reconsider this, because there's nothing else for these kids. Poverty in South Carolina is at in Beaufort County is like 10.4%, which is just under the national average. We now have to pay $250 in band fees for these children. And if they have a sibling, it's $200. Why? I don't understand band fees and all the fundraisers that we put on and participate in. These kids still don't get shot down for being able to participate. You guys are turning them down, and you should be very ashamed.
Next, we have Franklin Samuel on Athletic Fund, Battery Creek.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, board members. I would first like to start off, I know I only have 3 minutes. Hopefully I don't take all your time. I'm a father, I'm a veteran, I'm a supporter of these kids. The band does just about more or the same amount as any athletic club out there. They're out there in the blistering heat during the summertime, marching. They put on band camps for younger kids to come out there to be exposed to music, to learn what it is to have the fundamentals of marching, of being in a marching band, of one of the best, or not the best, band director in Beaufort. To have them not be a part of the athletic club is a slap in the face. We call them for basketball games. We call them for football games. We call them for pep rallies. We call them to be in parades. We call on them to be in any other thing that we need them to be in, but we don't have a fund for them. The fund comes out of the parents' pockets. Maybe that's the reason why we can't keep the band director, as the gentleman said, at any other school, because the bands are not part of the athletic department. You got to have a fund to keep these things going on. We want higher education. We want our kids to be excellent in everything that they do. We want them to have high academics. Band is a part of the curriculum. Why not have band a part of the athletic club? Why not do that? My son, I have never seen my son so happy to come home and want to show me what he's learned in band. I'm telling you, we sit in the living room and we watch them play. We're there at every game. Any time we can go see the Battery Creek Band, we go see them. Anytime any parent in here can go support their kid, they're there. We're there. People wear shirts at the football game that says, "I'm here for the halftime show." That speaks volumes. When you're standing out at the parade, like at the St. Patrick's Day parade that was here in Hilton Head, when they're practicing, you already know who that is. You don't have to say anything. It's Battery Creek. And that goes for the hard work and the determination that they put in day after day after day, day in and day out. Last school year, they had a performance to go to and had to be right back at the school early the next morning. I have pictures on my Facebook post, but we got to do something with the kids. We definitely got to do something.
Thank you. Next, we have Dagmar Levine on Battery Creek Band.
Good evening. My name is Dagmar Levine. I'm a senior at Battery Creek High School. I'm one of the section leaders for Battery Creek's band, playing saxophone. With this rule being put in place, this has caused us to lose 7 band members. I've been in the band for the past 5 years, and for me, band was a getaway for a lot of most students because, with school, maybe something going on at home, and unfortunately, with you guys putting this rule in place, this has taken that away for some students. One of our saxophones, she is a senior this year, and unfortunately is unable to transfer from the high school that she is at. She's been in the band for the past 5-6 years, and you guys have taken this opportunity away from her. Some of the opportunities from the shirt I'm wearing, I got to participate in South Carolina State University's band camp this summer. That is one of the HBCUs that we go to all the time, and we are exposed to college bands. One of our graduates from class of 2023 is now part in the Marching 101 and has received a scholarship because she was part of Battery Creek's band. 2 of our band members this past year, one of them is a trumpet player, the other one being a saxophone player, and was our previous drum major this past year. Both received scholarships from Benedict College and HBCU, now playing on their band. You guys putting this rule in place, it has caused a break in the band. And as a senior, it's disheartening. There really are no words for it. Because now you have taken seniors' opportunities away from it because you guys talk about how seniors are priority for when it comes to graduating. But with this band, unfortunately, we are not sure you guys' priority. That is all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Ayuna Gardner. Topic, Battery Creek Band.
Good evening. My name is Ayana, and I am currently a junior at Well Branch. I feel as you all are being inconsiderate of the students who have been a part of this band since middle school. It hurts because we all have grown as a family and connected through music, and now you all are taking that away from us. When I first joined the band, I was scared, but being with Mr. Williams and the parents, it made me feel safe. And I never thought that this would be the way that it could possibly end. We all have worked hard over the years and accomplished so much, and I want to keep accomplishing things with this band. I've been places with this band I never thought I would have been or thought I would experience. It's even more disheartening that we did not get a heads up and was informed right before school started we can no longer be in this band. It's even more painful that some of us have been here longer than 5 years and will not be able to complete our high school experience marching with this band. Thank you for your time, and I really hope you reevaluate your decision for the current and or upcoming band members.
Thank you. Next, we have Samari Gardner on the Battery Creek Band.
Good evening. My name is Samari and I'm a senior at Well Branch. I have been a part of this wonderful band since the summer before my 7th grade year. At first, I was hesitant because I had only been playing for 9 months, but once I met Mr. Williams, all of my worries went away. He immediately made me feel welcomed, and I could tell that he would be a caring and supportive educator. He has taught me everything I know, not only about music, but about certain aspects of life. When I entered high school, my school did not have a band for me to switch over to, and even if they did, that would not have been a choice. This band became my second family in a short period of time, and I love and appreciate every single band member and band parent. I remember my first field show and remember how everyone came together after winning almost every event. This band has allowed me to go to places I've never would have imagined. Hearing that I can no longer be a part of this phenomenal family that Mr. Williams put together was devastating, especially since this is my last year. I personally feel as if our feelings were not accounted for because you all I personally feel as our feelings were not accounted for before you all made your decision. You all did not think about the impact that this would put on our lives. This may just seem like a little extracurricular activity, but to us, this is a getaway from the outside world. This is a place where we can talk and know that we will be heard. This is a place where we feel loved, comfortable, and appreciated. This is our home. Thank you for your time, and I hope you reconsider your decision.
Thank you. Next, we have Takara Bowles on Battery Creek Band.
Good evening. Good evening, board members. Like I said, my name is Takara, and I personally have children on the band actually who just spoke, Ayana and Samari, who goes to Well Branch, and they have been with this band since 6th grade. When they started with Well Branch, there was no band. There was no marching band there. So they stayed, of course, with Battery Creek. They felt very welcome. They was learning a lot. They were doing a lot of things that a lot of the high school bands that we're not doing, going to different places, the experience. And just hearing my children
take your time.
I know it's going to take up most of my time, but it's just that it hurts me to hear that something that was so big in an impact in my own children's life during high school and has helped them, who's actually is looking forward to full scholarships to 2 different colleges, 4 rides because of band. And the fact that they can't even finish at least their last 2 years, you know, with the band who they grew with, who they had their family with, it is devastating. It really is. And the fact that just hearing that there was a so-called a vote back in December, I feel like, you know, why not have been a meeting to hear the kids out? It's not like as if, you know, we're trying to, of course, steal the kids from from other high schools or anything like that. I mean, it's just that, again, like how my fellow parent said, it's the styles of the high schools are not the same as Battery Creek. It's not. And that's how come a lot of the students are, the band size at other high schools are not the size of Creek because of the style. I just really hope that you all just really reconsider your decision and really see the impact that you all will be doing by separating them, and not allowing them to fulfill, you know, their dreams with the band and fulfill like the success that they have already accomplished with the band. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Angela Holland on the Battery Creek Band.
Good evening, board member and Madam Chair. I just really want to piggyback off of what everybody else was saying. I am a parent of one of the band students. My daughter does not go to Battery Creek. She goes to Beaufort High, and she's been on the band since her 8th grade at Beaufort Middle, and at that point, she was playing the trombone. When she got with Mr. Williams, she started on the drum line, and she loved it. The spark in her eye, every time I would see her on that field, at practice, at events, he took her out the shell that she was in, and the band just is her comfort zone. By taking that opportunity away from her, it hurts. It hurts her, it hurts me, it hurts all the students on the team, in the band. I wish you all really reconsider. I have a 1-year-old son who sees her play, and he goes and get a pencil, a pen, whatever he can find, because he thinks he's a part of the Battery Creek Band. Watching her and the band on the news, on Pluto TV at Chicago's Thanksgiving parade while we're trying to cook was wonderful. That was a great opportunity. Now she's a junior, where it's time for scholarships. She wants to go to school. She wants to go to college. She wants to go to A&T and be better at doing music, and this has been swept from under her feet. You know, like everyone said, it's disheartening. It hurts. I mean, y'all don't want to put these kids in a bubble. This is when mental health starts to get at them. Because what they thought was a safe zone and their comfort zone, it was snatched away from them. We don't have anything, like they've already been saying, on the north of the Broad for these kids. This is what they do. They find everything to go to band. They want to go to band. They want to go to practice. They want to go to all these events, parades, everything. They're doing everything for their community, and their community stand behind them. Like you've heard, when you hear those drums, them trumpets, everything, if you've ever been to a parade, when you hear that, you know who they are. They make a statement. Please reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the second public comments, and I would like to thank all of you that commented during this time, the 11 of you, for being very respectful of the rules for speaking. Thank you kindly. All right, if there is no further business, we can adjourn by unanimous consent if there are no objections. Oh, sorry. Future topics. Thank you. Anybody for future topics?
Future topic, but it was mentioned that the board did this, and I don't remember we taking any vote.
No, I just went back and looked at the minutes, so there's some misinformation out there that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, the board never took a vote.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So we will now adjourn by unanimous consent if there are no objections. Good night and thank you for all that participated and attended.